So I think we can start it already. So first of all, I would like to welcome all the participants and the speakers for being present here today. That is the second webinar about the target countries being worked in the F2F Health Matters project. Today, I'm going to start with a brief presentation of today's agenda. But before that, I would like to mention two things. After the webinar, we have a B2B session for all the companies that want to participate and to schedule meetings with other companies. Please, we just need to access the platform of B2 Match the same way that you access to enter in this event. And after this, I'm going to make a brief presentation of the project. Talk a little bit about the objectives, the services that the companies can benefit from the project, and make a quick resume about what we did so far and what will be done. So for today's agenda, I'm going to do the presentation about the project. After that, the first presentation will be about trade relations between the European Union and Canada with Ana Pinto and Liliana Silva from Market Access. And then for the second presentation, about opportunities and challenges when approaching Canada with Dennis. And in the end of the webinar, we will have a slot time for any questions and doubts that you might have and you might want to put to our speakers. So for the objectives of the project. The project aims to provide support services to innovative European SMEs that are willing to internationalize their expertise and products in overseas markets. The project expects to reach over 500 SMEs, provide financial support to 45 SMEs, and to reach a 10% increase in workplaces. As for specific objectives, so this project was made through a strategic intercluster cooperation that I'm going to talk later. We are a partnership of 5 clusters, and we intend to develop jointly internationalization services. And with that, accompany this internationalization journey with our SMEs. About the partners. So the characteristics of this partnership is fully aligned with the European Strategy Cluster's partnership principles. And complementary to this, we have the Norwegian cluster, NCE Eidner BioCluster, that acts as an external observer, bringing not only SMEs to the European network, but giving us advice about the activities that are being developed. About the partnership. So these are the 5 clusters belonging to the partnership. We have Wagerlin from Belgium, Bioeconomy Cluster from Slovakia, L'Oréal from France, Cluster Alimentario de Galicia from Spain, and Inov Cluster from Portugal. As for the sectorial and geographical focus of the project, so the project is focused in the SMEs specialized in healthy food, bio-based techno-functional ingredients and solutions, and sustainable biosolutions. As for the target markets, we have 5 target markets for the project, being them Canada, Japan, South Korea, Vietnam, and the United Arab Emirates. So this is the structure of the project. We have 2 work packages, one dedicated to the dissemination and communication of the activities, and the work package of the management. Through the work package 1 to work package 5, we have the core of the project where we develop all the activities that I'm going to talk about now. So as for the work package 1, we did a market research. We collect and analyze relevant information about those 5 pre-selected countries. So these diagnoses, these market studies, they are all available in the project website that all the companies can access through the project website. So after these 5 studies, we selected 3 countries, which were the 3 countries that where we are going to do the international mission. As for the work package 2, we defined the joint international strategy for the partnership and the implementation roadmap for the project. In work package 3, it's our main purpose to give the best knowledge that we can to the SMEs so we can accelerate their international business development capabilities and to help them enter in at least one of the target markets. It's in this work package 3 that we are going to develop a training and coaching program that I'm going to talk later. As for the work package 4, it's the work package responsible to organize the internationalization, the international missions, and to provide the international support services. So what are the specific aids, the specific benefits that the companies can get from the project? So as I told before, we analyzed 5 countries, and from those 5 countries, we selected 3 that we thought that would be the most interesting countries for the companies of each cluster. So the first selected country, it's Canada. And for Canada, we have 2 types of services that the companies that apply it to the first call are going to benefit. So the ones that are going to the international mission, they will have a travel aid up to 2,000 euros. And of course, when we are going in this international mission, they will benefit from the B2B meetings organized by an expert. So we will have a complete agenda directly to those companies that are going with us. As for the companies that aren't going to Canada, some of them will benefit from this commercial support. So it's basically a work with an external expert, a consultant that will help them, giving them all the expertise they need about the market, in this case about Canada. And for these, the company benefiting from the commercial support will receive an aid of 3,000 euros. As for each one of these 3 countries pre-selected, we are going to develop a training and coaching program. So in order to give knowledge to the companies and coaching oriented through that market. Just wanted to say that the other 2 countries selected were Japan and United Arab Emirates. And the international mission to Canada will be doing this year in November between the 20 and 25. So for other types of events that the companies can benefit from the project, we have country-oriented webinars for every of the 3 years of the project. So for this year, 2022, we already did the Vietnam webinar. We are doing now the Canada webinar. Next week, we are going to do the South Korea webinar. And until the end of the year, we are going to do the United Arab Emirates and the Japan webinar. For the upcoming exploratory missions or the international missions, so as I said before, the international mission to Canada will going to happen in November, and for the other two countries, specifically Japan, will occur in June 2023, and for the United Arab Emirates, it's going to be in January 2024. And for the training and coaching sessions. So the main objective of these training and coaching sessions is to give the companies, not only the ones that are going to the international missions, but the ones that have already applied and unfortunately couldn't be selected. It's to give them the knowledge and the information they need to have before each international mission. So the training and coaching session for Canada will take place between July and October for the international mission, the same for Japan, and the same for the United Arab Emirates. So thank you for your attention. And now going for the next point of the agenda, we have the presentation about the trade relations between EU and Canada. And for this, we have Ana Pinto and Liliana Silva from Market Access. Making a little introduction about our speakers. Liliana works as an international business consultant at Market Access with a degree in management and a master in economics. She specializes in the development of macroeconomic and market studies and on the implementation of internationalization projects for several markets and sectors. As for Anna, Anna is the business unit manager of public institutions at Market Access with more than 6 years of experience in the internationalization of companies. She has a vast experience in developing internationalization strategies for different entities and supported many clients from various sectors in export training and implementing export strategy. Anna is particularly specialized in foods and beverage sector in Europe and coordinated many projects in this area, but also abroad. So ladies, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Hi, hello, sorry for this. A small technical problem as usual in these Zoom webinars and meetings. I must think that we are all aligned with this nowadays. Thank you so much, João, for introducing us. It is a pleasure to be here, and thank you so much for Innov Cluster for this invitation. Of course, it is a pleasure to be a part of this webinar and project, and we believe that this is kind of actually one of the big important steps for companies in Europe in order to get more information on the markets that, as we know, knowledge about the markets is the first step to internationalization and to do it with success. So as you all know, we are here today to discuss a little bit about Canada. Canada is, of course, as you know, a country that enjoys from its diversity geographically, but also demographically. And that, of course, has a huge impact on demand when we talk about the food sector. So that you can understand a little bit as well, the diversity that we are discussing here. Just in 2016, close to 20 million people were reported with European origins in Canada. So this really represents a big diversity in terms of cultures, of course, in this market. And diversity is also seen in language questions, as we might see with Quebec. Canada, of course, as well, in terms of size, it's huge, but it's important to see that in terms of size of population, it's not that big, okay? We are talking about a population of a little bit more than 38,000 million people, which is actually a little bit less than Spain, for instance. So Imagine that we could almost reunite Canada and Portugal together to make the population of Spain. So this really is an important fact to take into account when approaching the country, is that, of course, we are talking about a huge country in terms of dimension, and that, of course, has also logistic consequences that is important to take in consideration. But in terms of population, it's not that big, okay? However, what we have is we have a big and high level demand in terms of type of demand, especially for the food sector. So Canada might be definitely very interesting for these two factors, but also, as we know, it's a border with the United States, and this can create a huge impact on your business as well, and show a little bit like a showcase of your products as well in North America. In terms of the food sector and agri-food sector, it's a very, very big sector also in Canada. So that you have an idea, we are talking about 2.1 million people that are employed in this sector, which represents 1 in 9 jobs in Canada. Okay, so food sector definitely a big producer here in terms of the Canada market. And in terms of food retailers and wholesalers, we have a GDP of about $32.9 billion. Okay, so this is actually a very important number to take into account when we are also, as I was saying a little bit before, we were discussing the matter of the population, of course, but it's important to understand that we are talking about a high demand. Okay, important also to know that in this market they are also big producers, and the main industries that we might indicate are, for instance, meat products manufacturing, dairy products, beverage, and bakeries, actually. And I was actually quite surprised to know that tortilla processing as well. So funny fact as well. In terms of, just to give you an idea of trends of the market here, I think Dennis will also discuss this a little bit more. He has a lot of important and practical aspects about the market, but just that you know that Canada goes full on the trends of European countries and European consumers with ingredient awareness. Consumers are really concerned about what they want to eat and what they are eating as well. And of course, health and environmental questions, of course, and are very important as well. So I just wanted to give you some really general and basic aspects about this market. Liliana, that is here with me, she will give you a much more detailed information and aspects here about Canada, and especially about the agreement that they have developed with the European Union, CETA. That is definitely important for companies from the food sector here in Europe when they are thinking about internationalization for this market. Okay, so Liliana, thank you so much for continuing.
Thank you, Anna. Please.
Good.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry. So first of all, thank you everyone for your availability to join us today. I will, as Anna was saying, provide you some more inputs regarding the trade between Canada and the European Union, and later I will give you also some information regarding the agreement between these both economies. And then I will pass the word to my colleague Danish, that I'm sure that I will really valuable inputs to pass to you. So following all of this, here in this slide, we are presenting you Canada doing business performance in 2020. I believe that you already know this indicator, but in a brief way, the doing business is an indicator from the World Bank that aims to measure different dimensions that affect business in several economies. The indicator evaluates around 190 economies around the world, and through the information that we are presenting to you in this slide, you can understand the performance that Canada had in 2020 and the performance that the country had in each dimension evaluated. We understand that in this year, Canada ranks in the 23rd position among all the economies evaluated, and we can see that the country reached a score of almost 80 points, which allow us to conclude that doing business in Canada is relatively comfortable. However, I would like to point out that on this indicator, the World Bank didn't consider the impact that CETA has for the relations, for the business relationship between Canada and the European Union. And CETA is a really, really important agreement between these both economies. And because of that, later during this webinar, we will explore this further, and I will try to pass to you some opportunities that you can benefit through this agreement. Oh, let me pass. Okay. And it is also important to mention that the trade relationship between the European Union and Canada became strong in the last few years. And this relation is based on shared values, on a long history of close cooperation, and also in strong ties between the populations of both economies. The relation between the European Union and Canada take us back to 1959, when the agreement for cooperation was signed in the peaceful uses of atomic energy. And it is of the utmost importance to mention that Canada is one of the European Union's official strategic partners. But we can understand this deeper if we look to the trade picture between both economies. The European Union and Canada have a strong bilateral relationship in terms of trade, but also in terms of investment, with the European Union being in 2020 the second largest partner of Canada in terms of trade, appearing just after the United States. But you can understand this deeper through the data that we are presenting to you here in this slide. You can see here some information regarding the exports and imports of Canada in terms of goods, but also in terms of services. And we can understand that in 2020, the European Union was responsible for 5.5% of Canada's exports of goods, and also responsible for around 9% of Canada's imports of goods. In terms of services, we have a similar scenario on what concerns to the importance that the European Union has for Canada, being responsible for almost 10% of Canada's exports of services, and at the same time, in the same year, responsible for almost 12% of Canada's imports of services. It is important to highlight that we can understand that the European Union has a positive trade balance in terms of goods and also in terms of services. And this is very, very interesting to understand from this data. If we move on to the foreign direct investment, we can one more time understand the importance of the relation between these both economies, with the European Union being responsible for almost 30% of the global foreign direct investment in Canada, and being responsible as well for almost 16% of Canada's total outward foreign direct investment stock. Now, start talking a little bit about CETA. CETA is boosting the relationship between the European Union and Canada. The Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement is an European Union trade agreement that offer more and better business opportunities in Canada for our companies, that supports jobs in Europe, and that also aims to protect the consumer and the environment, allowing the entrepreneurs and business of all sizes to benefit from more and from improved market access opportunities. And in order to allow you and to pass to you the importance of this agreement, it is important to highlight the fact that this agreement has some of the strongest commitments ever included in a trade deal. So through this, you can understand the benefits and opportunities that you can find under the CETA. CETA entered into force in a provisional way in the 1st of September of 2017. And as I already said, it brings important benefits. Namely, it eliminates duties on almost 100%, in 99% of all tariff lines, and also improves and secures the access of European companies to the Canadian services market. The reduction or elimination of 99% of the duties that European companies have to pay at Canadian customs will impact, as you can see in this slide, and we will allow the removal of custom duties on the European Union exports in around 400 millions of euros every year. And then this value will rising for almost 600 millions of euros a year at the end of the phasing periods of CETA. Of course, this will impact the competitiveness of European exports in Canada. And the increase in this competitiveness is supported by the removal in custom duties, since it allows the Canadian companies to buy European goods at a lower price. But behind this, under the CETA, we also have some interesting opportunities in other areas, namely in operational and technical level. Prior to the CETA, to export some products to Canada, a test was required. And even when the European companies have already tested their products in European labs, a double testing was necessary. Now with CETA, this is not needed anymore. And of course, this impacts the process of export to Canada, make the process easier, make the process faster, and of course, less expensive. So one more time, Canadian companies will be able to buy our products at a lower price. So will be cheaper than others, so more competitive. Besides this, it is also important that mention that under the CETA, Canada has also opened up its government standards to the European Union companies. So now our companies, your companies, are able to provide services and goods at a public level in Canada. And actually, we are the first non-Canadian companies to be able to do so. And this is a very, very good sign. And this is really important since the Canadian public market has a huge value, and every year public authorities in Canada buy goods and services worth billions. So this is one more time a great opportunity that arises from CETA. Behind this, and also in the scope of the public tenders, Canada has also agreed in making the tendering process more transparent by publishing all tenders opportunities in a single procurement website. And this is really important since one of the main obstacles that the smaller companies faced in accessing overseas markets was access to information. So this will help the small business in Europe. And one more time, this can have a big impact for your companies, for your associated. So it's really important that we keep an eye on this type of opportunities. If we look deeper and move to other topic, if we look deeper into the CETA, we can understand some specific opportunities and some interesting opportunities to the farmers, to the food producers and makers. Europe will be able to export nearly 92% of its agriculture and food products to Canada duty-free. And behind this, the country has also agreed in protect some traditional European products from imitations, and will protect almost 150 geographical indications. Still on this scope, Canada fully eliminated all the tariffs on fisheries products, and from our side, we have eliminated 95.5% of the tariffs, but we agreed in eliminating the remaining 4.5 in the coming years. So we have here some interesting opportunities that we should explore in the scope of the food and agriculture sector. And now, just to finish this part of our webinar regarding the trade between both economies regarding the CETA, I would like to highlight that CETA covers all the sectors and all the aspects regarding the business and the trade between Canada and the European Union. In this agreement, you can find concerns and considerations about all the topics that we are presenting you here in this slide. Regarding the trade of goods, as I already mentioned, CETA allows the reduction or elimination of the custom duties. And it's important to highlight one more time that that we can understand the importance of this agreement, since before CETA, only 25% of the tariff lines were duty-free, and now we have almost 100%, 99% as I already mentioned. CETA also cover the topic about the rules of origin for a product to be qualified at a lower or at a zero tariff line, it has to be originated from Canada or from the European Union. That then CETA also covers topics regarding the customs and trade facilitation, regarding the regulatory cooperation and conformity, regarding the government procurement. So now we are able to provide services and goods at the public level in Canada, and this is an opportunity that we should be aware to benefit from it. CETA also have some considerations regarding the trade of services and labor mobility, regarding the investment in order to offer better conditions to the investors and in order to protect them. And we also have in this agreement some concerns and some topics regarding the sustainable development, the labor, and the environment. And what we can expect now, what will come in the next years. As I already said, at this moment, CETA is into force in a provisional way since 2017. So now the Commission are evaluating its implementation, but before it takes full effect, it needs to be approved by all the parliaments in all the member states. So it's really important that we keep an eye on this in the news that will arise in the coming years, in order to benefit from all the opportunities that came from this agreement. From my side, it's all. So João, now the word is yours. And I believe that then we will have our colleague Dennis to provide you some more specific and local inputs that I'm sure that will be very interesting. And of course, if you have any doubts regarding this part, you can ask us in the Q&A part, or you can always send us an email to this email address, and we will try to help you as much as we can. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So thank you, Anna. Thank you, Liliana. Just wanted to say that the companies, if you have any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat box in the bottom of the Zoom, and we will answer them by the end of the webinar. So next we have Dennis Pietzma. Dennis is the managing consultant and founder of Global Invest and Trade. Has been in sales, marketing, and lead generation for 20 years in Europe and Canada, including trade and investment attraction on a federal and municipal level. Dennis holds a degree in international management from the Robert Gordon University in Aberdeen, Scotland. And he is here to talk about the opportunities and challenges when approaching Canada. So Dennis, please, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, João. Good morning, everybody from Toronto. Good afternoon in Europe. Thank you for being here. And I figured what we'll do today is I'll talk a little bit about the food industry, some ongoing trends that are happening. Then we'll switch gears a little bit into export to Canada, and I'll sort of finalize it with why Canada. So let's get started. So if you look at the industry as a whole, there's about 118 billion of sales in the manufacturing, food and beverage industry in Canada. The industry by itself holds 7,800 companies in this sector. And there's a lot of large companies, but what's really interesting is that 91% of these companies are actually companies with less than 100 employees. We're expected to have a growth of 25% in exports in the next couple of years. And if you look at what's going to happen moving forward, we're expecting almost 16% of growth in output and export. Another trend that's really interesting that's happening, and Anna and Liliana already touched upon it a little bit. What we're seeing here is that there's really a shift into healthier, more ethical and organic food products. And I think for you guys in Europe, it's really interesting to bring that knowledge and your products here to Canada as well, as it probably is a good fit as well. If you look at the market here, the US, we're very close to the US, obviously. and Anna and Lilian also pointed that out. We have about 38 million people here in Canada, but it's a common saying that 80 to 95% of those people live within 100 kilometers of the Canadian-US border. So Canada is already also a very good country to go to, because it's not just CETA you can use, but you can also use the USMCA, which is the trade agreement between the US and Mexico. So Canada is a very good landing point to bring your export and your products here and then go into the US. And what we see from Canada, the largest exporter that we go to from Canada is the US, with almost 72% of sales. Then, just to sort of reiterate the sector as a whole, what we've seen, obviously, with COVID is a little bit of a shift. We had a lot of lockdowns. They're all gone now. So there was a large shift where before the food and beverage industry was really focused on restaurant industry and all that stuff. But with lockdowns, there was a big move towards the grocery markets as well. And that gave a lot of shift, which also gave people more to think about what they're actually eating, what you're putting in your body, which changed into that healthier lifestyle as well. The largest segment as well is meat processing. It's 70% of the industry, and then we have bakery and dairy as well. And then the interesting part with CETA is that actually cheese is very protected as well. And I'll touch upon it a little bit later as well. If you look at the country and sort of the regional composition of the food industry, if you go all the way to the Pacific coast, so you got, which is north of California, you got British Columbia, where there's a lot of meat processing. We have a lot of breweries, wineries, and distilleries. Then if you go more eastwards, you have the prairies, obviously a lot of grain, oilseed, meat processing, and then lentils and legumes, so vegetable processing as well. If you move to Ontario, that's where I am, that's where Toronto is. We have a lot of meat processing as well. Dairy, bread, bakery products are really big here, and also a lot of sugar and confectionery products. If you then move more eastwards, you go to Quebec, obviously the French-speaking part of Canada, meat processing, dairy manufacturing, and also sugar and confectionery products. And then move all the way through to the Atlantic, a lot of seafood products and potato manufacturing, actually. That's where McCain, which you'll know from the French fries from McDonald's, has a lot of industry going. Then let me shift a little bit. What we've seen, and this is sort of what happened with, obviously with COVID as well, we see that a lot of consumers are shifting more to eat at home products. The restrictions that we had included some of the closure of restaurants for a period of time, resulted in consumers purchasing more groceries, stockpiling happened, not so much, a little bit, but which is very good for the industry as a whole. The food manufacturing saw sales increase by 1.8%. And then, which is interesting because the rest of the manufacturing, which food processing is a part of, actually saw a massive decline of 27%. So really a lot happening in that industry. Now, if you look at more social economic factors that are happening, I said earlier, we have about 38 million people here right now. We're expecting actually by 2025 that we're going to exceed 40 million. So it's a really growing market. So that population is growing about just over 6% in the next 5 years. But what's really interesting, and also looking for, if you look for more healthy products, the disposable income in Canada is actually expected to grow by 14.5%, which is actually a faster pace that's going to increase over the next 5 years, which higher levels of disposable income will also result in consumers obviously increasing their spending on more higher quality higher quantities, and a more diverse area of food products. Now, if we're looking at some trends moving forward, close to 30% now of consumers are actually health conscious. So, which basically means that 3 in 4 Canadians are really, really putting a conscious effort in trying to eat more healthy. So if you're in that sector, you got more bio, healthy products or ingredients that you want to bring here, the market is ready for you. The changing consumer preference in there are also obviously boosting a demand for these healthy and organic products, including really food-free from artificial ingredients, additives. We're really starting to look as well in alternative protein sources, which is super interesting, leaner meats, and more low sugar and fat products. Another really influential segment that's developing is ethical. Consumers are more demanding safe and sustainable products. And there's really an increasing pressure on local manufacturers to also reduce waste in their operations, including through progressive ingredient sourcing, innovative packaging. And what's really interesting is that really the ethical mindset is really super important right now for people under 35 years of age. So that's it more towards on the sector and trends and innovation. I thought what we'll do now is we'll slowly move a little bit into export. Give me 1 second. Let me grab my notes here. So we already talked a little bit about CETA. One of the things you really need to keep in mind when you're looking to use CETA is that you need to comply with, obviously, the product specifics and the rule of origin. But what's really important is the direct shipment rule. In order to qualify for CETA's preferential tariff treatments, European products must be shipped directly from Europe to Canada. Which makes sense because if they are shipped indirectly through another company, they could lose that preferential tariff treatment. And that's obviously not what you want because you spend more on your export. Then logistics when it comes to exporting to Canada. Shipping food products from the EU to Canada is super easy and it's actually very cost efficient. There are weekly scheduled ocean container services linking Europe to Canada through the Port of Montreal in Quebec, which what they call the Northern Europe Loop. There's base ports, excuse me, from Antwerp, Bremerhaven, Hamburg, Le Havre, and Rotterdam, which concises of that Northern Loop. Get your products into Montreal. Then there's also what they call the separate Southern Europe Loop, where you can use base ports of Barcelona, Marseille, Genoa, Livorno, Sines, and Valencia. Shipments from smaller ports in the north and south really connect the base of those ports. Transit times from from Europe to Canada can range about 7 to 10 days. And there's also direct other services directly in the Port of Halifax, which is in the Atlantics. You can also go to all the way to the west, to the Port of Vancouver. And usually when that happens, it goes through the Panama Canal. You can also do air freight, but obviously that's a little bit more difficult, but also a little bit more expensive as well. Now, distribution in Canada. Obviously, always touched upon that. Canada is a really, really big country. It's actually the second largest country by land mass. spreads all the way from the Atlantic to the Pacific coast, but low population density. And again, like I said, the most of the population is actually in the southern part. So if you want to bring your products to Canada, what you really need to do, and it's super important, is to actually pick the right port or airport of entry. Because otherwise you're going to be stuck with a lot of local transport. It's not really handy to bring your product into the port of Montreal if you have to go all the way to Vancouver. If you look at sort of the what we call the Quebec-Windsor corridor, so obviously the north side of Quebec, and then all the way to Windsor, which is Detroit, the Detroit border. Half of Canada's population is there, super fast and cost efficient, and the majority of that transport obviously is done by truck. If you want to go further into Canada, usually it's done by rail. And then the last thing I wanted to touch upon was customs. Some of the stuff you really need to be aware of is that what they're looking at from other agencies as well. Obviously, you can use your clearing customs, work with local people, obviously, work with importers to bring your product here. Saves you a lot of time and hassle. The Canadian government is really working hard on making it more easier, which is sort of a derivative from CETA. There's really new programs coming into place to make it easier to clear your products and to actually get them into Canada. The one thing you do need to keep in mind, though, is that the Canadian Food Inspection Agency is part of this. What they'll do is they'll look at what you're trying to bring in. And there's specific rules right now on nutrition facts table and the list of ingredients. They're going to make it easier as well to do that. But please keep in mind that if that's something you're looking to do, to bring product here, your food products must be packaged when you're selling into retail, must have both bilingual and French, so French and English labels. Now, we're talked a little bit about Canada, but I think what's really interesting as well, and I touched upon that earlier, is the US market. You can really use Canada as your landing spot for your products to go bigger into that market. Canada, 38 million people, but if you look at the total addressable market in North America, if you add the US, you're looking at about 400 million people. Getting your products here is really easy, it's possible, and it's really cost effective. You know, with CETA, obviously you can take advantage of that duty-free import and export. What am I looking at? Serving the US from a Canadian-based distribution is super easy, thanks to the proximity, obviously. There's still customs duty, but again, if you work with a local import-export consultant, it's super easy to do that. Now, let's talk a little bit about why Canada, just to keep it a little bit more easy. Canada is a very stable country. If we, when we had the big banking recession and the crisis in 2008, Canada wasn't hit. We were super stable. We had no problems. We had no banks that needed to be bailed out by the government. So from that perspective, we're way more stable than the US. Also from a political perspective, we're really, really stable. What a lot of people don't know is obviously we have a federal government, but then we also have provincial government. What a lot of people don't know actually is that our federal government is run right now by the Liberal Party. But if you look at Toronto and our province, Ontario, we have a conservative government, and they work really well hand in hand. There's not a lot of issues. As opposed to when you look at the US right now, every time they switch from the Republicans to the Democrats, you're stuck sort of in a hamster wheel where the one is always trying to undo what the other did 4 years before. So in that perspective, the country is not really going forward. Canada doesn't have that problem. We are always going forward and we're politically super stable. Then the next thing is immigration. We understand in Canada that immigration is really important to growing the country. We need immigrants. We need people to come here. Why? We actually have policy that helps to set out immigration here. Why? Because we understand that immigration brings one, diversity, but two, it also brings more innovation. And we're really focused on that. Then also Canada is more affordable. Obviously your costs here are lower than the US. The wages are lower, about 30% lower than the US. And then the other benefit is that the dollar is lower. So there's really a lot of benefit into coming here. And then finally, what I want to say is it's a good work-life balance. Canada is a big country. We have a lot of nature. People enjoy the nature. They go out in nature. What's also interesting, we're starting to follow more European rules as well. Our province right here is now also implementing the right to disconnect, basically saying if you're not working, it's after 5 or in the weekends. People need to be left alone to get that really good work-life balance. And like I said, it's a really, really big market. And it's easy to do business with the US as well. There's no problem to work with companies that are based in the US. It's not, obviously there is a physical border, but there is no business border. So I hope that helps. This is sort of the end of what I had to say. If you have any questions, feel free to post them. Looking forward to hearing them, and obviously also looking forward to hopefully seeing you here in the future. Thanks.
So thank you, Dennis, for these very useful inputs about the opportunities and challenges when approaching Canada. I don't know if any of the companies has any questions that they want to put to the speakers. I am not seeing anything here in the chat box. Okay, we have one question. So Dennis, Liliana, if you want to turn on the camera, please feel free. So we have a question from Peter. He asks, hi, thanks for the information. Just one question. Are there any interprovincial trade barriers that are good to know about? Maybe.
Well, if I may, we don't believe so. It's actually something that I don't think it's set up. I don't know if Dennis have any other feedback that he can give us. It might be on some specific products, I suppose.
Yeah, there are some barriers. The common saying in Canada is that it's easier to import goods from the outside of Canada into Canada than to move goods between the provinces. So one of the main advice is really work with a partner that knows what they're doing. Work with a really solid distribution partner, for sure.
Thank you, Dennis. I was just wondering if Peter had a particular question regarding the CETA agreement and if that has any influence on this kind of barriers. I don't think that we have this answer right now, but we can check as well if there are any particular details regarding this.
Peter, if it is easier, you can hold the hand and I will give you permission to talk. Okay. Wait a little bit if I be writing. I don't know if you have any other questions from the companies. Anyway, if after the webinar have a specific question for us, you can send us an email and we will direct them to the specific speaker that might respond. Okay, so we have one question from Marcelo Roca, which says, which is the agency to certify the product? Health Minister? I don't know if you are asking this, Marcelo, in your country or in Canada.
In Canada. And I will ask Dennis for help me if you have some more specific inputs, but I believe that according to CETA, now if we test a product in the European Union, this test will also work in Canada under the CETA, but Dennis, probably you can provide some more information regarding this as well.
Yeah, I just posted it as well. It's the CFIA.
Exactly, it's in the chat, Marcelo.
Yeah, exactly.
I put it in the chat. Yeah.
So it's the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, CFIA, administers the safe food for Canadians, regulations, and screens food and plant products coming into Canada. Okay, thank you, Dennis.
You're welcome.
Okay, I don't know if I have any more questions. Please don't be shy. Just want to remind that after the webinar, we have a little B2B session in our platform. Please feel free to use a little, some time exploring the platform. If you don't want to participate in this session, the platform is built to be a community. So through the project, we will have this community with other companies, and maybe we will find a possible future networking with other companies throughout the partnership throughout the countries that are participating in the project. So I don't think we have any more questions. So I think we can end the webinar. Once again, thank you very much, Liliana, Ananda, and Dennis, for accepting the invitation to talk about the Canadian market. As for the companies, please feel free to send us an email about any questions that you might have about the project, the benefits that we will get from the project, the future international missions, or other related events. So thank you, everyone, and until the next time. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Have a good one, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.